Hey guys, it's Takasta here again. Welcome to another video review. So today I'll be reviewing the Finalmouse 2015. So this mouse has been, I think, out for a long time. This mouse has been out for like a year and a half already. Clearly 2015, and now it's like mid-March, late March 2016. So this mouse, I think a lot of people told me to do a review of it at the time, but however, it was only offered in the States. I didn't really get a chance to review it. I only actually picked it up, I think, 3-4 months ago from Amazon, and I started using it. And the first thing I thought was, wow, this mouse is cheap, and it was an imitation. And I really didn't like it. Really didn't like the build quality, really didn't like the fact that it basically imitated as a complete copy of the Razer Imperator right here, which I'll do a comparison of. And to be honest, the build quality is just really not that great. So not much that I liked about it. But here is my review of it. I do understand that Finalmouse did release a tournament edition, a new mouse in 2016. Haven't had a chance to try that yet, but I'll just give my thoughts on the Finalmouse 2015. In a background or some at the price point, it is charged at $69.99. However, you can find this on their website and also on Amazon. I think is the main place they distribute it. To be honest, for this mouse, I think it's the specs are there, the clicks are there, the sensors there. However, trying this for $69.99, I just really don't think it's worth it. I'll get to why, mainly because the build quality of it, I'm just really disappointed. So that's that. So basically this video, I'm just going to be shit-facing this mouse because how much I really dislike it. I mean, there are good features of it, but I'm just trying to give my objective, subjective, whatever. I'm just giving my honest review of what I think of this mouse. In terms of specs, it sports a 3310 sensor, which is pretty good. I think they took, this is the basically public sensor, which is available since the Rival, since I think the Takasta also used it. A lot of the new mice, I think the Aviator, the NOS also used it. So it's a pretty good performance, in terms of performance, it's quite good. However, I do want to give them one knock about it because it doesn't have firmware. It's preset at 400, 800, 1600 and 3200. So this really, I mean, limits it. I mean, supposedly they give you a good option of plug and play. Zoe did that. I mean, Zoe did it quite successfully, but I feels like just if you're putting a 3310 sensor, you might as well give it a little bit more firmware for you to edit it. So at $69.99, I think people are expecting a little bit more. As for preset DPIs, like I said before, LED lights. I don't think this is changeable, which is again $69.99. A lot of good options where you can do RGB. And it has obviously 6 buttons. You have the right 1, 2, 3, 4, this DPI button right here, and then left and the right button. Mainly they sell this mouse as the final mouse that you can use it, but this is nothing but the final mouse. In fact, this is the mouse I probably won't be using. So on to the weight and the shape of this mouse, which is I think one of the biggest selling points when they sold this mouse. So they sold this mouse with a 3310 sensor, R1 switches, and also the fact that it's very light. When you pick it up, this is like, you can, it's one of the lightest mice I've ever held. Something like the Kinzu V3, which is smaller than this, and it comes in at only the 74 grams. 74 grams is almost nothing. If you compare I think the Caster, I think it's like 80 grams or something, 85 grams or something. This is, you just hold it, and because the mouse is slightly larger, it's the shape of the Imperator, and at such a light weight, I don't think a lot of people might like that. I like a little bit more weight. Some people might like a very lightweight. In fact, they're selling it as that, so this I think is a personal preference. In terms of the shape, it's basically an imitation and almost a complete copy of the Imperator. First time I used it, I have Imperator right here. I have the Imperator 2012 edition, not the original Imperator, which I've also reviewed like I think 5 years ago or something. So if you can see on the side, I can even do like a comparison. On the side here, you have the thumb rest part, you have the thumb buttons, and the thumb part basically indents the same. It has a big indentation here. It just comes out. If you can see the shape, it basically resembles the same. You can see the top shape. It has a very the hump of the mouse, which I call it, is kind of like in the middle and towards the towards the front a little bit. So it basically does the same thing as well. On the right hand side for the ring finger and the pinky finger, it curves in exactly the same curvature as well. And if I just let you look at the bottom of this mouse, you can see like how similar this mouse is. It's basically the same, the way it curves here, sensor placement. The only difference is, well, the Imperator obviously uses a laser sensor, which is the Avgo 9500, 9800, can't remember, 9500 I think. So it's not that great, and this uses the optical, the Pixar 3310, which is pretty good. Other than that, it's basically a copy of the shape. And to be honest, I don't really approve of it. Like, it just makes it feel very cheap that you just copied something else completely and you just made it, redesigned it. And the build quality is quite cracked as well, which is really disappointing. So that's the shape of the mouse. I think it's ergonomic, and if you are objectively, if you are a more I guess FPS player, you use like the Death Adder, you like more ergonomic mice, this might suit you a little bit more. If you ever use the Imperator, it's exactly like the Imperator, so I won't go into too much more detail on that. In terms of build quality, this is also the very knock why I really don't like this mouse. Okay, first of all, it's quite light. I'm not saying all light mice are bad quality and heavier mice are good quality. That's quite defeats the purpose. I like some mice which are lighter, I like some mice which are heavier. To be honest, I have nothing against the fact that it's lighter, but the fact of the matter is, like, the matte surface, that basically everything about it I really don't like about it for the build quality. The matte surface on it feels relatively cheap. It doesn't feel finished quite well. It feels like if you sweat a lot, it might cause some problems. I think it doesn't feel as nice. I think one of my favorite surfaces is probably from Munich, the NOS, the caster, which I've used a lot. The side buttons here, you can see on the side, it just, the plastic used, it's quite glossy. It just doesn't feel very high quality, to be very, very frank. And if you look at, I think, the middle button right here, and basically on the middle, it actually says DPI as well. Like, I think it just gives a sense of it being very cheap. It feels like they just found like an OEM production of the Imperator Razor, and they're like, oh, can I make a mouse? What kind of models do you have? And in fact, I know for a fact that a lot of factories, they do this. They take just existing mold and they just make another mice. And in fact, a lot of Chinese companies do that. They take the same mold and they put their own logo on it and just makes the same mouse. With the scroll wheel, I mean, it's kind of looks kind of cheap. This transparent-y, like, scroll wheel thing. I mean, it scrolls pretty normally. It scrolls like a lot of other cheap mice. Nothing too particular that I want to talk about. And you look at the bottom of this mouse, you can see it's just a very, very simplistic design. Well, not that simple is not good or it's bad, but just, and you have this like QC control stamp here, and just looking at it and the bottom of this mouse, it just feels like one of those everyday mice that you get from like China or from the computer store, and you can probably pick this up for, like, but for the fact that it uses a 3310 sensor, you can probably pick this up for like maybe $50 or $40. That's what no, Hong Kong dollars, sorry. So I'm talking about like maybe $7 or $8 US, something like that. So that's why I really don't like it. Personally, I've used a lot of mice in my time, and one thing I really want is the comfort and the build quality. And as long as I have that, even if the sensor is not too great, even if it's a laser sensor, sometimes I just still feel comfortable with it. That's what matters the most, to be honest, in my eyes. So in the end, I mean, it doesn't have firmware. The performance, to be honest, the performance is okay. As like I said, with our 3310 sensor, it is what you're expecting. You're gonna get what you're expecting. So nothing too much out of the ordinary. However, in conclusion, for what is charging $69.99, I think this mouse is really not my least favorite mice actually to use and to play with. I think to play with, I mean, it works fine, but just doesn't feel comfortable. Like, the surface doesn't feel comfortable, the buttons don't feel a little bit cheap, and it feels like it can break easily. So to be honest, I wouldn't really recommend this mouse. However, if you want to try it, I've seen a lot of people who do like this mouse, and nothing against them. I mean, it performed fine in games. However, I just feel like a lot of the mice that I like to use, if it has a better build quality and usually with a nicer sensor, and like I think with most of the other bigger companies too, I've had a better experience. But to be honest, the Finalmouse 2015, a little bit of a disappointment. Don't really like it. I can like sell it to whoever wants it, to be honest, after this review, even though it is an older mouse. So I'll try to maybe get my hands on the new Finalmouse to test that as well, see if they made any improvements in that department. Hope you guys liked that video review of the Finalmouse 2015. It might not be what you guys wanted or liked, however, that is what I thought of the mouse. And hope you guys enjoyed, disliked, whatever the video. Thank you for watching, guys.